potpourri.
Good evening, guys.
Evening.
It's a real pleasure to be here with you, especially because it's our new base medrash. We're going to be working together over here. We're going to be staying together. I hope to be here. Don't know how many nights a week I'll be here. At least 1 or 2 nights a week, maybe more. Here Monday night. I'll be here Wednesday night. Might not be any of the other nights, but you know what I mean. This is what builds. I think all you guys know. You guys are here, and we're going to speak about this later. What builds is Torah. Torah is the aside of Yiddishkeit. Without Torah, you can it's all just a little bit of I wouldn't call it nonsense, but it's ritual. You get a lot of ritual. You have this, you have that. What's it all about? Don't know. So we're very excited. I hope you guys are also excited. There's going to be a fantastic program. Aaron's really put in a tremendous amount of work. He's brought in Rabbi Gold, who's really a chashal young man, and he's somebody you can speak to and somebody you can have a shaykhus with, and I hope I'll have a shaykhus with all you guys as well. If you need anything, I'll be available for you, and make the most of it. It's not always that Manchester has had such a base manager. I'd say until now we've never had that, and it's a real plus, and we have to be thankful for it. Having that in mind, so we have in the Torah, we're going to speak about Succos today. See what we can get through, what we can't get through over here. Remember, I gave the shir somewhere else. I pulled out the notes today. I couldn't believe how long the shir was myself. And at the time, I think when I gave the shir, and I'm not scaring you because I'm not saying the whole thing, but at the time when I gave the shir, it was an hour and 15 minutes. But we're not going an hour and 15 minutes. How long are we going for tonight? What is it? Are we half past or quarter? I mean, if half past is only 15 minutes, it's very, very short. So are we going to about quarter to 10? Yeah, half an hour. Okay, that's fine. Look, it's not like a build-up in that way that we can leave out bits and pieces. So it's going to be till quarter to 10. And we'll be, I try to be very, very exact with my times. Speaking about Succos, it's very little sometimes you feel that you can say about Succos. There's Mansim Choseinu, it's a time of our happiness. You know, Succos in the Torah has different names. Chag Succos, speaking about the Sukkah, so we know what a Sukkah is. Chag HaOsif, you look in Parshas Devarim, Chumash Devarim, really, Parshas Rabbi, it's referred to as Chag HaOsif. Anybody wants to see just a Mara Mokim, something which is brilliant. In the beginning of Devarim, in Rosh Hashanah Hirsch, he writes an introduction to Sefer Devarim. So every Sefer, you know, if anybody's learned the Ramban, you know, like the most famous introduction, for example, is the Ramban in Megillah Shmos. See the introduction over there, Sefer Ha'Ge'olus V'Ha'Ge'ula, that the only way to get to Ge'ula is to get back to the same level that you were at before. So you went into Golus in Mitzrayim, and coming out, why doesn't, if it's Sefer Ha'Ge'olus V'Ha'Ge'ula, why doesn't it end? Okay, you went into Golus, you came out, after Mashalach, everybody drowned, finished, that's the end of it. You got the Torah, that should be the end of Sefer Ha'Ge'olus V'Ha'Ge'ula. You had Golus, you had Ge'ula. And yet we have Mishpatim, Truma, Tetzaveh, Kisisa, V'Yaakov, V'Kudei. What are all those parshas doing there? So he explains over there the Ramban what the Pshat is. And you always see that there's an introduction to each one of these Chumashim, and each Chumash is really a certain theme. So you look over here, he brings out, you have to see it inside the that Rosh Hashanah Hirsch. But if you see it inside, it's the beginning of Devarim. It's a brilliant piece. He says there's no dates over here, and why it's called Dafka Chag HaOsif. It's the time you gather in your grain. But you gather in your grain. And the last one we know, Yedavne says, V'atitu lo Hashem v'kenim ha'ava, v'yadim l'simcha chag v'zman l'sosoy, nes yoim, Chag HaSukkos hazeh, Zman Simchoseinu v'kokesh, a time of our happiness. Zman Simchoseinu. So the question is, why is Sukkos singled out as Zman Simchoseinu? Of all Yom Tovim. Well, God's Zman Simchoseinu. Why is Torah not Torah is a great thing. Shavuos would be Zman Simchoseinu. We got the Torah. Pesach, we got freedom. Zman Simchoseinu. Yet somehow we chose Sukkos, Zman Simchoseinu. So what's Pshat Sukkos is Zman Simchoseinu? Now if you look in the Torah says, what's the reason for Sukkos? The man yevder sechem kivus ukos hashafti es bnei Yisrael v'aitzisi oisme'at. So that's the explanation of Chag HaSukkos. Chag HaOsif is the time when you gather the grain. That's man saying what's going on over here. Now, You might turn around and say, well, okay, it's called Zman Chosenu, it's Zman Chosenu, it's not really that important. But obviously we know if anything has a name obviously is the etzem. If you want to speak about the essence of something, you often, if you look at the name, you'll see that there's a certain idea within that name. The most famous example of this, I always use this because I always get confused, is Mizrach and Marav, Dovid and Zofa. You may hear this ever? Mizrach, where does the sun go up? In the east, right? So Mizrach, Zarach HaShemesh, that's where the sun shines. So that's why it's called Mizrach. Where does the sun go down? In the west. Yeah? What's the word for sun going down? Harav Shemesh. What's the word for west? Marav. Same word. Where is the sun at its highest point during the day? It's one of two. No, it's not north, it's south. How do we know? Because what is the word for south? Dorim. What is the word for height? Roim. Roim. That is where at its highest. Where do you not see the sun at all? North. What's the word for north? Tzofon. What's the word for Afikoimen when we speak about Afikoimen? Tzofon. Tzofon means hidden. That's where the sun is hidden. So you see, for example, that the names of those things, they are related. They correlate to different things. A name has an atzmus. It has a certain essence to it. So what's the essence of Sukkos? You call it Zman Chosenu, it has to be part of the essence of Sukkos. Yeah? If you look in the Psukim, if you go to the Psukim in Re'eh, so Chag HaSukkos Taseh L'Choshim As Yomim, you should make Sukkos for 7 days. Be'ospecho, when you gather, Migardecho Mi'yikvecho. And then what's the next words of the Pasuk? V'samachto B'chagecho. You should be happy. Don't have V'samachto B'chagecho. You have V'samachto Lifnei Hashem Elokecha and Shuos. But here's V'samachto B'chagecho. Be happy on your Chag. Who, you and your son and your daughter and your Emet and your Oma and the Levi and the Ger and the Yosef Amona, etc. How many days? 7 days. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bless you with all your tvu, with all your grain, with everything you have. V'hayisa ach sameach. You should be very happy. You should be only happy. Nachum. So the Torah says simcha twice in this parasha. When by Pesach it doesn't speak about simcha at all. By Shavuos speaks about v'samachnu lifnei Hashem Elokecha. It doesn't tell you that by Hashem. And here's v'samachnu l'Elokecha with the etzem chag. You should be happy with the chag v'hayisa ach sameach. What are you so happy about? What is about Chag HaSukkos that the Torah is telling you about Yisrael? You have to be happy with it. Why do you have to be happy with Sukkos? Now the question that many people ask as well is why do we have Sukkos middle of Tishrei? You think about it. Oh, what is Sukkos doing in the middle of Tishrei? You have 12 months. So you look in the Torah, everybody knows, what does it say? Whether Sukkos Zecher, either from Hanana Kovid, or because Klal Yisrael made sukkahs, they made little huts in the Midbar. So if they made little huts in the Midbar, when should we have made sukkahs? When should it really been? Nisan, in the summer. Says the Torah, but we don't make it in the summer. Why not? Because if people see you going into a nice hut in the summer, so what are they going to turn around? They're going to turn around and say, well, you know, these Jewish people, they have a place where they cool off, they can't afford air conditioning, so they go into these little huts and these houses, and they go in the summer. It's actually quite nice to sit there. So we said, no, we're not going to make it in the summer, we're going to make it in spring, in the fall. We're going to make it now, Sukkot time, September, October. Right? That's the question that Gemara asks. But still, you think about it. So good. So that leaves you how many months for winter time does that leave you? 6. September, October, November, or you want to do it the other way around. Elul, Tishrei, Elul maybe not. Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves, Shvat, Adar. Yeah, it could be anywhere there. If the whole point is that we're just trying to say, we didn't go in there because it was good weather. Okay, so we didn't go in there because it was good weather. So go in when the weather's not so good. So you have to put Sukkot smack right after Yom Kippur. Why Sukkot right after Yom Kippur? 4 days, and you got Sukkot again. I mean, this year is really intense. You ask anybody, oh, it's a 3-day Yom Tov. So there's 3 days, then Baruch Hashem, there's a break in between. That's the Shabbos Hafsaka, where you don't eat anything. And then you got another 3 days Yom Tov, and then you got another 3 days Yom Tov. And people are like, by the end of all those days of Yom Tov, you're just absolutely exploding. You need to go on a diet, detox, all these other things. There's nowhere else we could have put Sukkos. You have to put Sukkos smack after Yom Kippur. Why is Sukkos right after Yom Kippur, of all places? If it's just there to tell you that I'm not making it in the summer, there's enough other times to put it. Yeah? At the end of Sukkos, there's another Yom Tov. Shaila is a separate Yom Tov, not a separate Yom Tov. Well, let's call it a separate Yom Tov. Separate Yom Tov called Shmini Atzeres. Why do we have Shmini Atzeres? We all know the famous Rashi Pashas Emor. It's really good when you take good notes. I must tell you, this is I'll just give you just a side thing, but a bit of a tip. If you ever take notes, make sure you take good notes. I used to take very, very skimpy notes, and then I went back years later and I tried to read them and I couldn't figure out what it was. Because at the time you knew exactly what you were talking about. It says, story about a man who got angry. Yeah? Okay, there you go. You wrote it down. 3 weeks later you read it, you know exactly what it means. Come back a year later, read it. Do you know what it means? No. So yeah, I haven't written this mamish just to tell you that it's something worthwhile. I know it takes more time, but it's worthwhile investing in. Shivas Yom Takrivu Yishur Hashem. 7 days you should bring a korban Hashem. By Yom HaShmini, on the 8th day, Mikor Kodesh, it's a holy convocation, if you want to call it. It's a Yom Tov. Yir Lochem, Bikrafni Mishur Hashem, Atzeresi, it's an Atzeres, whatever that means. Says Rashi, Atzeresi, Otzarti Eschem Etzli, I ask you to stop by me. Why? Kemelech Shezimin Esbono V'Suda, a king who invited his children to Suda, Lekach Lekach Yomim, for that many days. I mean, many of you know this probably. How many of you were in yeshiva away in Eretz Yisrael? Probably most of you, right? Yeah? You come home from Ein Hazmanim. First of all, you really get everything. You want this kind of supper, your mom will make this type of supper, you want to go out somewhere else. Yeah, you really get like royal treatment. But then imagine, you're going back to, okay, mom, I'm going back to the airport. Fine, I ordered you a blue line. See you later. Not going to happen. What do your parents do? Usually, they'll take you in the car, they'll take you to the airport, and they'll see you off to the gate, and they'll sit with you, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go check out the duty-free shops. No, stay out with me for another 20 minutes. Spend some time with us. You're going back to Eretz Yisrael. We won't see you now for 6 months. Do me a favor. They'll get very insulted if you run off. So, Melech Zimein is born of the Suda Lekach Mikach Yomim, a king who's the father, has invited his children for so and so many days. Since the time comes, he says, Bonai, my children, I ask you, please remain with me another day. So difficult for me to say goodbye to you. So the question is, okay, I understand it's difficult for Kodesh Baruch Hu to say goodbye to us. And Pesach, it's not difficult. How come we don't have a Yom Tov on the 8th day of Pesach called Pesach Atzeres, make up a name, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Kosh Alai Pidaskim at the end of Pesach. Shavuos is the Chalal very short. It's only 2 days. We should have the second day. Should be called Atzeres. So the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Kosh Alai Pidaskim. Suddenly, what is it? Suddenly, at the end of Sukkos, we have this idea. Kosh Alai Pidaskim. Oh, it's so difficult to say goodbye to you. It's always difficult to say goodbye. But at the other Yom Tov, there's really something special about Sukkos, where Kodesh Baruch Hu turns around and he says, now, Kosh Alai Pidaskim. Now it's difficult for me to say goodbye to you. Other Yom Tov, we don't have this. The question is, what's special about Sukkot that the Torah felt that here it has to have a special Yom Tov called Shmini Atzeres? You can have Shmini Atzeres for anything. And then lastly, well, 2 more questions really. Simplest Torah on the end of Sukkot. Is that also just like some kind of coincidence? Something that, Simchas Torah. Why? Because we finished laying the whole Torah. Could have done it differently. Could have had Simchas Torah Chanukah time. Could have started laying every year at Chanukah time and finished by Chanukah. Seems to me there's big excitement. Simchas Torah. We're going to have Simchas Torah. What's at the end of what does it have to do with anything with Sukkos? Because it's by us it's the 9th day of Yom Tov of Sukkos. And in Eretz Yisrael even more so. In Eretz Yisrael it's together with Shmini Atzeres. So the day of Shmini Atzeres is the day of Simchas Torah. It's a very, in Eretz Yisrael, if you kept one day, I don't know how many people here kept one day, but if you kept one day, it's like a very weird day, because you come to shul and you daven, and then you have Hakofis, and then you have Yisker, you go from one extreme to the other, and then it's like a very weird day put together somehow. I mean, Obviously not weird, but you know what I mean? So the question is, what is Simchas Torah doing at the end of Sukkot? What does that have to do with Sukkot? And we specifically put Simchas Torah in Sukkot. Do you want to tell me? No, because it's the new year. Yeah? So in the new year, we want to start Sefer Torah fresh. So I'll ask you, how many Shabbos will there be before Simchas Torah? 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes. 3 Shabbos before Simchas Torah. So, I mean, there's plenty of time to have Bereshis. Shabbos Shuvah could be Parashas Bereshis, or maybe the Shabbos between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur could be Shabbos Bereshis, Shabbos Chol HaMoed could be Shabbos Bereshis. I mean, we didn't have to say, well, Bereshis belongs right there. Where? At the end of the Yom Tovim. Why? Because what? And lastly, why do we Koheles on Sukkot? Is there any kesher between Koheles and Sukkot? What's the connection between Koheles and Sukkot? Yeah, so we have a whole bunch of questions over here. Why is Man Simchos Einu? Why do we place Sukkot Dafka at the end of Yom Kippur? Then, go through this again. That, why Dafka then? Why is Man Simchos Einu? Why is it Dafka Shmini Atzeres there? Why the Simchas Torah at the end of Sukkot? And lastly, why do we Koheles in Sukkot? What's the connection over there? So the answer is that Sukkot had to come right after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur for a specific reason, obviously. But that reason has a lot to do with the Man Simchos Einu. You think about Rosh Hashanah. You stand for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Im lefanai malchut, ketei shtam nichuni aleichem melech. You meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the melech. You stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu in din. Then afterwards you have Yom Kippur. So the next step, you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for kaparas avodos. And you come out of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Baruch Hashem, you're clean. That's it. But it's not always that easy to go back to what things were like. I don't know how many of you have ever had a big row with someone. A lot of you probably never had one, and I hope you never will have one. But sometimes you have a very big row with someone. Sometimes you'll never make up, which is in itself a bad midah. But even if you do make shalom, imagine you make shalom with that person. Very often, are you ever going to be really good friends with them again? Usually not. Do you know what I mean? Because, yeah, you were friends. Then he said something, and you said something, and he said something back, and you said something back, and things escalated, and for a few days you didn't speak, and then you're bad-mouthing him to your friends, and he's bad-mouthing you to his friends, and things escalate, they get worse and worse and worse, and then finally, at the end of the day, you come and say, let's make shalom. Okay, we'll make shalom. You're not going to invite the guy next week for Shabbos. That's not what you're doing. Aaron, you got the number? You're not going to invite the guy next week for Shabbos. He's not your best friend.
What's your number?
4679. Why 4679?
Number there.
No, it's on. That'll have to be edited out.
It's on YouTube.
It's all right. So, you don't become best friends with the guy again. Okay, so you're good friends again. But you always think in the back of your mind, I can't believe he said those things about me. And I can't believe he told all my friends about all the fights that we had and all the nasty things that I said. And you're not good friends with him anymore. So you'd expect the HaKadosh Baruch Hu maybe to act the same way. Somebody once said to me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he'll forgive me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he understands. I said, you should at least look at HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the same intensity that you look at another human being. Yeah? I said, you're sitting there, you told me whatever you did something wrong. I said, I'm sorry about it. I said, imagine if you did something wrong to a very good friend of yours. And then you turn around and he says, you're sorry? Yeah, so sorry, yeah. So that's the most insincere apology I've ever heard. Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't like insincere apologies either. You can't just turn around and call him, Kodesh Baruch Hu, Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't like insincerity. You want to come back and do tshuva Kodesh Baruch Hu, you can do tshuva Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu can turn around and say, okay, fine, I'll give you another year of life. But you're on your own, and I'm on my own. Kodesh Baruch Hu, no. Do you know what? right after Rosh Hashanah, and right after Yom Kippur, you've now been Mekabel as a Melech. You've now gotten Kapara and Slicha. God Baruch says, at this point I'm going to tell you we're friends again. But not only friends again, I want you to come and stay in my house. So it's like Tzila Demem Nusa, you're in the shade of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want you to come, I want you to sit in my house. Sit with me for 7 days. And that's a tremendous simcha. Because, okay, we became a nation, we became free on Simchas Torah. On Pesach. And we got the Torah on Shavuos. But every year, we got a whole year that we go through and we don't know what's going to be next year. And right after Yom Kippur, Kodesh Baruch Hu turns around and he says, no, I want you to come together with me. I want you to be together. We're going to be a couple again. That's a great simcha. Kodesh Baruch Hu has given us tremendous slicha v'kapara. At this point, you turn around and you say, wow, I'm so lucky. Such a special people.
Why is there a gap then?
Pardon?
Why is there a gap between Yom Kippur and Sukkot?
You wouldn't be able to build your sukkah to be able to get your Hamamim. No, it says it's interesting, but then you can't have, I don't know if it comes directly, so it gives you time now to build up to that to sukkahs also. It says in the Apostle, take yourself on the first day. It says, Yom Rishon l'cheshbon avonos. So the next 4 days, you're busy just doing mitzvahs. This is like it's like the build-up. It's like, imagine if you had the wedding, we get engaged, or when are we getting married? Tomorrow. No, you have the build-up, so you have to get yourself your suit, and you get your tie, and then you get ready, and you book the hall, and you need to get yourself ready, so you have the Arba Minim, and you get the sukkah, and you're getting yourself ready, and you're really getting into the spirit of it, and then you have Yom Kippur. But 4 days in between is not a lot. It's still very, very close together. But hey, it's a good question. So that Kodesh Baruch Hu turns around and says, I want to have you back. That's a gewaldige thing. And sukkah, what's sukkah? It says, "Leman yeder eseichem." We saw the apostle. The nations, your generation should know. Kivas sukkos oy shaftis b'nei Yisrael. I sat klai Yisrael and sukkos b'nei Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. I sat klai Yisrael and sukkos. What are the sukkos? Was either huts or the Ananei HaKavod. But what are the Ananei HaKavod? Think about the Ananei HaKavod. Did the Yidden really need the Ananei HaKavod? The Ananei HaKavod were like a little present from Hashem. It's like all the unnecessary things. The Kodesh Baruch Hu decided to surround them and to protect them. So when the Mitzrayim threw the arrows at them, what happened? The arrows turned around and came back at the Mitzrayim. Why? Ananei HaKavod. When they were walking, everything was flattened out. No, that wouldn't help. It wouldn't hurt a few Yidden to go up a mountain a bit, up a slope, down a slope. No. Ananei HaKavod leveled out the terrain. When you're in the Ananei HaKavod, your clothing got a special dry cleaning. That's the girls. That's pretty intense for girls. Anyone want to open the door? They're really Shiva Machar. Just to get to that girl. Somebody will share.
Shout to go around the side. Go around the side!
Go the hell right. In their place. Go on, man. Get all the hair wet.
Okay, nothing should happen. Yeah? So God will give you the other. Hey, they're coming. Stand there, watch. So you have the Ananei HaKavod. Just run through it this way.
Sorry.
That's all right. We're now on YouTube. Everybody will know you do the show. Right. Follow this way. My office. Just tell them all to walk through it once. Instead of 7 different.
You're on YouTube, by the way.
Turn the video.
It's not simple to say this, is it?
What? I don't know. It's on your way.
Yeah.
Close the door up.
Right from girls. Right.
So then I will be through it.
Huh?
Where's it going? It's going.
He's in bed. Where is he?
He's out there, he's my office.
He's been around, right?
He's even worse than us.
Yeah? So the Anana comment, try clean your clothes. It says, your clothes grew with you. Imagine wearing the same suit for 40 years. But it looks like brand new. Like you want to get out of your clothes at one point or another. But your clothes grew with you. As you grew, your clothes grew with you. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. The Anana cover was like an air conditioning system over there in the desert. They were surrounded by the Anana cover. So that Anana covered was really one big showing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love to the Jewish people. Because it was all extra. You know, the necessities, when you take care of the necessities, lav dafka does that show a love. But when you give extra, then you say, wow, that's already that's a present. That's a love already that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing. That Nana HaKavod themselves signify the love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had for the Jewish people. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu says now, Zecher to that love that I showed the Jewish people in the Midbar, I'm going to make another Yom Tov called Succos. And that Succos is going to be, I'm going to show you that same love that I had for you in the Midbar. I'm going to show you that love every year again. And not only is I'm going to show you that love every year again, but the hashpah of getting that love, we know, Rabbi says, it's not just, okay, we reached Yom Tov again. All the hashpahs, all the ruchnis that came down at that time, all the Abbas Hashem that was able to be done at that time, from being in the Midbar, that same Abbas Hashem is available for us during Sukkot. That's a tremendous simcha. That for us is a great happiness. So, go back to some of the questions. We're going to be skipping a lot over here. That's why we have Dafka by Sukkos, Kosher like Pridascha. Yes, we became a people, Pesach time. Yes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah, Shavuos. But now comes Sukkos. Sukkos comes the Yom Tov of Ava. Sukkos is the Yom Tov where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ani v'hu, we're sitting together. It's me and him sitting together in the Sukkah. We're together, we're mamish having a givaldic time together. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you came to visit me, and we spent 7 days together. A loving 7 days. And now, at the end of those 7 days, you're leaving me. Kosher alai pridascha. It's so difficult for me at the end of those 7 days, at the end of that period of intense Ava, to turn around and to say, okay, everybody go back home. It's like that time when you come from Bein Hazmanim, as I said, at the time of Bein Hazmanim, when you come home, your parents treat you very, very well. It's a special time of Ava. They show you a special amount of Ava, and it's really our chiyuv to show that Ava back to our parents. Every parent, I don't know, Ibn Hashem, all of you will be parents. You'll realize that the Ava that a child shows to a parent is just, it's indescribable. My son, my 7-year-old son, my oldest, he wrote me 1 or 2 notes for Rosh Hashanah and for Yom Kippur. You read them, mamish tears come to your eyes, and you think, oh, you're such a mushy daddy. No, but you read them, it's like such a pleasure. No, I have to tell you how much I love you, and I wish you a good Yom Tov and everything, and you read it, it's so beautiful. And that is the simcha. That is the simcha of Sukkot. And that's why it culminates in that. It has to culminate in Shriyat Zeres, Kosher alai pridascha. It's so difficult. We've had such a good time together. We're here for Bein Hazmanim for so and so many days. It's over. It's difficult. Now you're going back home. Now you're not going to be with me. Now I'm not going to share that album with you anymore, like I did for the last 7 days. Kosher alai pridascha. And I'll make 1 extra day for it to be Yom Tov. Else into Simchas Torah. This is the Simchas Torah bit is a build-up on something else. We'll leave out the Succos Torah because that has to be built up on the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. But we'll come back to Koheles. You read through Koheles. Koheles sometimes is very, very depressing. Everything is nothing. And you read it, I don't know if anybody's been through Koheles. I've never been through it, I'll tell you that. I've lain through it. When you lay it, you feel it's like over and over again. There's God's the Hevel Ruach, this is no good, and that's no good, and this is worthless, and that's worthless. What does that have to do with Sukkos? The answer is because the Sukkos is the Yom Tov of Avos Hashem. When you realize what Avos Hashem is, and you compare it to everything else, you say, everything is Hevel. What's the bottom line? Hashem, keep his mitzvahs. That's really what's worthwhile. In the whole world, you want to know the one thing that's worthwhile? Hashem, his Torah, and his mitzvahs. So on the Yom Tov of Sukkos, when you're together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when you're sitting with this kesher of Avodah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you especially read Koheles on that Yom Tov to remind yourself. Yes, we get simcha. We have our simcha over here, and you get something new. You have simcha, and you get a car, and you get a mobile, and you get this, and you get that, and all these things. Yeah, they're fun, and they are nice to get. Don't get me wrong. You want to have true simcha. You want to know what it really means to be the simcha. That only comes. Simcha only comes from a feeling of fulfillment that you get from having this closeness with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from having a life of meaning. That's where the true simcha comes from. So Sukkos, which is our Zman Simchoseinu, it gives us that specific feeling of simcha. And because it gives us that specific feeling of simcha, we read Koheles to remind ourselves what's true simcha and what's not really true simcha. And with that, with this knowledge, we'll end here because I told you half an hour and that's half an hour. To know, Baruch Hashem, we have Sukkos coming up, and after Sukkos we have Simchas Torah. And you guys know what Torah is. That's what you're here for. That's why you're here in this space Medrash. If you didn't appreciate Torah, you'd go home and you'd be on Facebook and you'd watch TV, and there's lots of other things to do at home. You can keep yourself busy. There's enough things to keep yourself busy in the world. You don't have to be in the base Medrash. Why are you in the base Medrash? Because you want to be here. Because you realize this is Simcha. This is Chayim. This is Torah. This is life. This is what we want. So this is your Chayim, and this is your life, and this is your Simcha. You should take the Simcha, you should be able to take it with you through Sukkot, so that when on Simchas Torah, comes Simchas Torah, you'll be able to dance. I once asked somebody if he wanted to make a l'chaim with me on Simchas Torah. He says, I don't make a l'chaim on Simchas Torah. I'm high on Torah, I don't need whiskey. I don't need vodka. I dance with the Torah. People understand Simcha, understand Torah, really can come to the culmination on Simchas Torah. They dance Asher Om Shekach Aloi, Asher Om Shandanoi Lahaf.